Sobat at America. My name is Patricia Elizabeth. I'm one of the e-guide here. And welcome back to Podcast at America, Cybersecurity Tech Talk. In this live podcast series, our podcaster and speakers gonna talk about the current trends in cybersecurity, including the emergence of AI. So please stay tuned until the end. And now please welcome our podcaster. She is a co-founder and CEO of Clefio Innovator Camp. I hand it to you, Ibu Francisca Utami.
Thank you, Patricia, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's very good to have you here. Everyone who attends offline here on site with us, and those who are listening or watching online, welcome. It's very exciting tonight. I am here today with two very distinguished speakers. We'll be talking about cybersecurity, which is a very exciting subject. We'll be covering quite a bit of topics, including 10 trends and threats that are coming in with AI, and then gender inclusivity, as well as what can we do to take part in the safety of our information online. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker. We have our cybersecurity expert from the U.S. Embassy, Mr. Jeremy Epstein, who is the lead program officer of the National Science Foundation Secure and Trustworthy Cyberspace Program. He is also the founder and director of Scholarships for Women Studying Information Security Program, and also the program manager for Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. It's good to have you here, Mr. Jeremy, and everybody please welcome Mr. Jeremy Epstein tonight. And also, I would like to introduce our second speaker. We have Mr. Andrian Purnama, who is the partner and director of IBM Consulting Indonesia. He has 25 years of experience in the field. Mr. Andrian also is a well-known SME in the area of finance and management consulting. So thank you for being here, Mr. Andrian. And everybody, please welcome Mr. Andrian to our Tech Talk tonight. So, thank you. So we have, like I said, we have a lot of ground to cover tonight. So we'll start with trend and threats. When we think about information security, we think about our information, what part of our information is out there online, who has it, who's using it, and for what reason. We need to know those things, and whether they can be used, whether the information can be used against us. I guess that's one of the reasons we're here tonight. So maybe some of us are already familiar with different cyber crimes like phishing, malwares, and cyberbullying even, and gender-based cyber crimes, which we'll probably be talking tonight. So I would like to ask Mr. Epstein first. So Jeremy, as someone who leads the Secure and Trustworthy Cyberspace Program.
That's a mouthful,
yes.
isn't it?
In the NSF.
We call it SATC because it's shorter,
Oh,
SATC.
SATC, okay. Oh, okay, that makes sense, okay. What are the trends and threats that is coming in with cybersecurity today? You said you've been in the field for 35 years. Right. So that's like from when people started using internet, right?
That's right.
So how has it been evolving, and where are we going with this?
So the level of threat has expanded very rapidly over the past 35 years that I've been in the field, but so have our defenses. We've gotten a lot better. There's a lot of things that happened all the time when I got into this field that don't happen nearly as much anymore. We're better at writing software that is less vulnerable to attacks. On the other hand, attackers have gotten much more experienced and sophisticated in their attacks. Things like phishing attacks were things that we talked about 35 years ago in theory, but we didn't see them in practice. I would say the main thing that is different now is cybersecurity is no longer a purely technical topic. It's what we call a socio-technical topic. We need to consider the human aspect, and in order to do that, we need to have not just computer scientists solving problems, but also social scientists. And in my role on the SATSI program at the National Science Foundation, I sponsor dozens of research projects that bring together sociologists, criminologists, anthropologists, and so on, along with computer scientists and electrical engineers, because that's how we have to work to solve some of these problems for the long term.
So it's not just an IT problem
It's
anymore.
not just an IT problem anymore.
It needs a lot of people with different backgrounds to work together in order to fight cyber crimes, because there's so many kinds of cyber crimes, especially now with the rise of artificial intelligence.
Right.
Now we're not really sure who we're fighting anymore.
That's right.
It seems like it, right? It's very interesting that you mentioned even it's called what,
Socio-technical.
socio-technical. So there's a lot of social part of it, in which probably takes in maybe human behavior,
Absolutely.
motives, and methods
That's
that
right.
are included in.
That's absolutely right. And artificial intelligence is bringing in whole new aspects, because just as historically attackers developed phishing attacks and viruses and things like that, we now have artificial intelligence which can both detect those attacks more effectively, but also can create the attacks more effectively. Both the technical part, the virus itself or the malware itself, creating new forms of attacks at a technical level, but also creating new forms of attacks at the user interface level. So the email that you get looks much more sophisticated today. If it's a phishing attack, it looks much more sophisticated than it did a few years ago, and that's in part thanks to AI. So AI is our friend, but AI is also our enemy. Sometimes we talk about things like that as dual use technologies. They can be used for good and they can be used for evil.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about how AI is involved in many of the crimes, of the threats and cyber crimes that we're facing today. And I think I'm gonna direct my next question to Mr. Andrian, because you mentioned earlier how we are trusting AI so much. So maybe you can share with us a little bit about how we use generative AI, such as ChatGPT right now. I don't think anyone, and has anyone here never heard of a ChatGPT? Probably none of you, right? You probably have started using that to do your projects for the school, right? So can you tell us a little more about how tools like ChatGPT and other generative AI, are they safe for us to use when we talk about cybersecurity?
Okay. There are several aspects to it, and yeah, like you say, it is a social. It's pretty much social rather than only technical, right? Technical. Generative AI itself, ChatGPT, is an AI algorithm that can generate content, and it can generate a very convincing content, right? Very convincing content. So it learns from a very fast amount of data, a very large amount of data. It is very expensive to train generative AI, and then it can generate content. A lot of you might use generative AI. Can you give me a sample of an essay about this topic, right? I hope you don't submit it to your lecturer, because that will be cheating, right? That will be cheating. So that is one danger of generative AI. Actually, it makes us lazy, right? That's one. But one of the things that we have to say also, and our responsibility in using generative AI is generative AI. You need to be sure on what is the information they are giving you, because in the generative AI world, there's a concept called AI hallucination. Hallucination of AI, which AI that generates a very detailed, very thorough, very convincing essay or very convincing answer, but it's actually rubbish. A very simple question that you can ask to generative AI is like this: uh, to dry one three trousers, it will take 30 minutes. How many hours it will be needed to dry 10 trousers? Or not 10. It will be too much to calculate. 9 trousers. So three trousers 30 minutes. AI will answer 9 trousers 90 minutes. Why? Because AI look into the algorithm. It looks like a serial algorithm, right? Meaning 3 times 10, 3 30, then 1 is 10, then 9 is 90. But that is the wrong algorithm, right? That is the wrong algorithm. It's not. If you dry it in the sun at the same time, nine trousers, 1 trousers, 2 trousers, it will take the same time. But AI is not able to differentiate that, right? AI is not able to differentiate, but it will give you the answer in a very convincing manner. In a very convincing manner. The person that don't know the field will just trust the AI. So that's one. That is how, that is the danger of AI, that if we are not careful, that we might fall trap to it. The second part, I think, related to cybersecurity, AI is learning. AI is learning all the time, right? So you need to be very sure when you are using any Gen AI tools, you understand their policy about information security, about using the information. So for example, if you use a Gen AI tools that will learn from your input, let's say you have a very delicious recipe of making rendang. Then if you put that into the AI will learn, and somebody else that asks what is the most delicious way of making rendang, your secret recipe might be out. So that is a very where your discernment need to be very clear on. You need to understand what is the policy about using the AI maker is using for the training the AI algorithm. How are they going to use the information? Because, well, they are learning. So that's I think that is a very important way to see it, right?
Could I make one comment on that?
Yes, yes.
I love your example, because I recently asked ChatGPT, please create me a recipe for dessert, something sweet, using pickles and cheese and ice cream. And it gave me a recipe for pickles and cheese and ice cream.
And how did it turn out? Did you try it?
I didn't try it. It sounded entirely disgusting, but it doesn't think.
Yeah.
AI systems don't think. They
Yeah.
just do exactly what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
They spit
Correct.
ideas back. So it's important that we understand when we ask questions, if we ask a bad question, we may get a bad result. And if anyone wants to go out for pickles and cheese and ice cream when we're done recording here, we can discuss that.
I don't think I do. Skip that.
Yeah, that sounds
Alright.
disgusting.
Yes, I guess because that's a really interesting point. AI hallucination. I've never heard of that term before, but it's very interesting. I think it's true. The way the information is given to us make us really want to believe, or at least really believe that it's the best answer. So without thinking critically, without reading critically anymore, we just take it in and copy paste whatever. But AI itself has been around forever, right? We just didn't realize it. It's in our social media. It's in our shopping apps, right? And it's in our probably banking apps and all kinds of apps that we're using. How safe are they?
How safe are they? Again, we have gotten better. Indonesia have released the PDP, Personal Data Protection Law. So that is a that is a move into a good direction, right? It move into good. We have gotten better in regulating the use of data with AI
Yes.
for for various purposes. Mostly is for business purposes, because right now you will see that there are when something in your Google phone or in your Android or in your iPhone, every time you the system want to do something, they will ask, we want to use this data. Do you allow or not? Do you allow or not? Now, guys, read that first before you click yes, right? Because read that first because you get the you download pinjol pinjol apps, right? Then it will ask a lot. He will ask the permission to use your phone, to use your contacts, to use your location, to use everything. That they will ask you everything. So right now, at least with the advent of GDPR, with the advent of PDP, now these software makers, the system makers will have, because they will need to comply with the law, right? They need to comply with the law. Then some of the controls comes back to you. Before, during the advent of the first cookies, the cookie, actually the person that realized that somebody is profiling him realized that his modem. Oh, these guys might not know modems. No? I don't think they know. These guys might. So basically, it shows that the internet has an activity while actually it's supposed not to have any activity. So something is happening in the background. It used to be nobody can control that, but now you have control. So how safe it is? Right now, a lot of the controls is in your hand, right? Is in your hand. Now, come back to the socio-technical problem that you have. Actually, then it's a it's a question of convenience against security. You can be the most secure, but you are not comfortable in using any of these services.
Yes.
You can be the most secure, but you are not comfortable. Yeah, it will not give you any suggestion. It will not give you your location. It will not give you, but you are secure. So it's a power to you to ask, okay, how comfortable do I want me to be, and how much of data you want to give, because it is a trade-off. It is a trade-off.
Okay. So in other words, if you want your life to seem easier with all these apps, seemingly knowing what you want, what you need at all times, you have to give them a lot of information.
Yeah, you have to give them a lot of information, because if not, if you don't give, the apps cannot profile you.
Yes.
And the way it's a concept called hyper personalization. So the personalized offers can be given only if you say that I like this, I like this, I like this.
Yeah. The more they know you, the more they
know
can
you,
be
the more,
helpful to you.
yeah, the more they can be helpful. But the more they know you, also the more they can be harmful to you. So
Yeah.
it can be helpful, it can be harmful. You need to understand.
Yeah.
Right? You need to understand.
A lot of times, a lot of application would you can before you download it, they will actually tells you, like at the App Store, that how are they going to use your data,
Yeah.
right? They at least generally they will say, oh yeah, we're going to give your data to a third party for whatever purpose, right? And I'm not sure if most people read that, but then there's also the terms and conditions that seems like nobody reads.
So there was a study that we funded at NSF that was done at Carnegie Mellon University that looked at if everybody read the terms and conditions, the privacy policies, et cetera, what would be the impact on the United States economy, because it was done in the United States. What would be the impact on the United States economy if everybody actually read those things? And the impact is billions and billions of dollars a year of lost value while people sit there and read them. So you're right, nobody reads them. The result of that was a research prototype to come up with what we call nutrition labels for apps. So just as on the food you buy, there's a label that quickly gives you an indication of how healthy is this for you or how not healthy is this for you. And some of us look at the labels and some of us don't look at the labels, but there's a quick glance ability to look at a food label. In a similar way, there's a quick glance look at an app from a privacy perspective. And the research that we funded for that is now part of the Apple App Store and part of the Android App Store. So there is a quick look way. It's not going to tell you everything because it's a quick summary, but there's a lot more there. So when I say that in some respects things are getting better, we have things like that now that we didn't have 10 years ago.
Okay. So that's really interesting because, like I think it's true that if one of the reasons that we don't read it because it's just really long and sometimes it's really
And
tiny print
complicated.
and very complicated. If you're not a lawyer, you
Right,
don't go to
which
law
I'm not.
school, you don't really want to read it. So so that's a very good news because if we can just see the main points, how it's going to affect us, we probably will make better decisions on which apps that we want to download and use. So this comes to our next topic about responsibility. Whose responsibility is it to keep our information secure online? What are the maybe parts of what the governments can do, what the private sector can do, and then maybe and later on we'll talk about what we can do, each of us. So maybe I will throw the question to each one of you. Maybe Ms. Jeremy, you can answer first. What do you think the government is responsible for when it comes to keeping our information safe?
I think there's an important point that if we say that it's the government's job to solve, we can stifle innovation, prevent things from evolving in new ways. We've gotten to where we are in the United States anyway, largely because the government has mostly taken a hands-off approach. Has it been perfect? No. There's the right point to figure out what sort of action the government should be taking. And it's important that it not be too soon and not be too late, and finding the just right point is really hard. And so what we're seeing in the United States is some states are adopting what are called privacy regulations, just as you have here in Indonesia. What's a little bit different about the United States than Indonesia is in Indonesia, you have most things that are happening at the national level. In the United States, many things happen first in the individual states. There's 50 states in the United States. There's also some other special areas. And what we see is some of the privacy regulations are happening at the state level. California was the first, which is very influential because many tech companies are based there. Virginia, where I live, is the second. There's discussion at the national level whether there should be privacy regulation at the national level. And it's very hard to figure out where to draw those boundaries appropriately. What we've seen in Europe, as an example, with the GDPR, is a standardized set of regulations that are very complex and are in some respects stifling creativity and actually creating new opportunities for malware, because what we're seeing in Europe is companies or bad guys, if you will, who are figuring out, oh, you're violating GDPR, either you pay us or we're going to report you. And so they're creating extortion of legitimate companies for violating GDPR rules, which might not actually be hurting their customers, but they can be used as a way to extort money. And so we have to be very aware that there's all these different angles to regulation, the values and the disadvantages.
But in general, I think in the U.S. there's always looking at the different cases, with with Facebook and then how TikTok, with the issues of privacy and keeping those people's data safe. Especially when all the tech company, well, when the tech companies from outside of the U.S., I think there's also becomes an issue, right? But there, I've been seeing a lot of, quite a bit of, I guess, things that are happening in that are, that the government is looking into. And it seems like as the technology changes and developing, the regulation is just barely catching up with it.
I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah.
We have something in the U.S. government called the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, and the FTC has taken a fairly broad view of their ability to regulate technology insofar as it relates to protecting privacy and suing companies that don't do a good job of protecting individual privacy. So if you were a customer of a hotel chain, for example, and the hotel chain did not properly protect your information, instead of you suing the hotel chain and saying, you didn't protect my information, and you probably don't have enough money to sue a hotel chain, but the FTC can go after the hotel chain and force them to do a better job. And we're seeing some of that where in egregious cases, FTC is setting forth rules and using the law to go after companies that are not protecting customer data.
Okay. Before I go to Mr. Andrian, I would like to ask you also about how our tech companies, or just any our companies themselves, would they regulate? Would they protect your information without government involvement? Is that
well? A lot of tech companies, the basis of their business is trust by their customers. Social media companies, for example, if we don't trust those social media companies to some extent, I'm not saying completely, but if we don't trust them to some extent, we're not going to use those social media companies, and then they don't have a business anymore because they make their money by selling us advertising. So they have a real incentive to protect things enough, but not too much, because if they protect too much, they'll spend too much money and they won't be able to sell our information to advertisers, which they want. So they are constantly in internal battles how far they should go in protecting our information. They certainly have significant motivation, and we can agree or disagree that they're drawing the line in the right place. But any big tech company is looking very seriously at protecting customer privacy. They don't want to be sued by the government, but they also don't want customers abandoning them because they think their information isn't being adequately protected.
I see. Okay. Before I go with the same question to Mr. Andrian, I would like to remind you, all our audience here, offline or online, if you want to ask, if you have any questions for our speakers tonight, please go on our social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or on YouTube, and you can type your questions there, and then we will ask them later after the discussion. So, okay, well, I'm going to continue with Mr. Andrian. What do you think about government and private sector's responsibility in protecting our information, especially here in Indonesia?
Well, on the government side, right? On the government side, as I said, PDP is a step to the right direction. Honestly, I am anxious to see how is it going to be enforced, right? How is it going to be enforced? Because it's a new law, right? It's a new law, and it's very new, and we don't know yet how it's going to be enforced in the corporate level and also in the personal level. Because according to PDP, if I have your phone and then I give it to somebody else without your consent, I already violate the PDP law, right? I already violate the PDP law. So consent is key there. So I'm quite anxious to see how is it going to be regulated, because this is the first time Indonesia is having those kind of law. Now, for private sectors, I think Jeremy has answered it beautifully regarding the government sectors. I do think the government need to regulate, it in the right level. Too hard, you stave off innovation, you stave off business, make it very difficult. People will not bother to
Yeah,
go into
yeah.
that area. But too lenient also, that will be an issue with the misuse of the information. Now, for private companies, most of us will try to comply. Now, IBM is a tech company, and we specialize uh, in this area, and can't tell you how many RFPs, requests for proposals, asked by companies to say, okay, how do I implement this? How do I do this now? How do I handle my data in the era of the PDP law? How do I
Mm.
how do I handle the data loss protection? How do I handle the information management, the data governance in here now, because the classification. Who am I now? Am I the data steward? Am I the data user? Am I the information owner? Who am or am I the information processor? That is actually some of the question now, because it will be in effect in 2024, right? It
Okay.
will be in
Mhm.
effect in 2024, and everybody is, I think, is quite anxious in that. But private companies generally they want to comply. Generally they want to comply, and they are also anxious with some of this dubious interpretation
Oh.
that can come in. So yeah, that's now a lot of them is looking for assurance services, saying that if I implement this, can I be sure that I'm not going to get sued later on?
You're not breaking the law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it seems like in Indonesia, at least, there's this new law, PDP law, that is going to be implemented next year,
Yeah.
and then a lot of companies now are trying
Yeah.
to comply with
Yeah,
it, which
trying
is
to comply,
good,
yeah.
right? And then um, I guess that's a really good move in the right directions, right? Okay. So this is really interesting, and I'm thinking probably by next year we will probably see uh, a little more demands, I guess, um, in terms of people who can work in this field and maybe
Oh yeah,
helping them
definitely.
to to comply with this new regulations, right? Okay, so and that comes into the career, I guess, jobs in cybersecurity, and uh, it doesn't look like there's a lot of demands. I mean, it doesn't seem like it, but then it's really a field that is growing and probably getting more and more. I guess it evolves. The field of study itself is evolving, just as the technology evolve, right? And this brings up to our next topic. Um, just I guess with a lot of STEM field, there's women is still underrepresented. In my, like, for example, in my program itself, there's only, I guess, 25% of girls at most that we can get. Most everybody else is just boys. Um, so I'm going to ask you first about this, Jeremy, because you founded the Scholarship for Women Studying Information Security, or SWSIS, right? So can you tell us about the scholarship program, and why do you think it is important to push gender inclusivity in this field?
I started this program, SWIS we call it,
Swish.
just because it's too hard to say, Scholarships for Women Studying Information Security.
Yes.
I started the SWIS program 11 or 12 years ago when I looked around at the meetings I attended and realized that frequently there were no women or very few women in these meetings. When I got into the field 35 years ago, it was about 30% women.
Mhm.
And in the United States, we saw a huge drop-off in the number of women, not only in cybersecurity in particular, but in computer science in general. And that number bottomed out at about 10% in about, I think it was 2000.
Hmm.
And we've been getting a little bit better since then. Um, There are many reasons, and I've talked to many social scientists, and I'm not an expert on why this happens, but I know that we need to solve it because we need to have different perspectives. That's one of the things that we've learned over the past few decades in the United States and in other countries as well, is multiple perspectives gives better answers from a technical perspective, and everything from as simple as the early AI-based facial recognition systems, many of which are still in use today, will do a much better job of recognizing me as a white man than they will you, a woman of color. This has been a huge issue in the United States, where the darker your skin, the more likely you are to be pulled over by police, for example. And because the facial recognition systems are so poor for people with darker skin, they're more likely to give false matches. So you start with the fact that people are more likely to have interactions with police. You couple that with technology that makes it worse, and you have a really unfair biased result. So what are the ways we solve it? Well, some of the ways is simply having people who don't all look the same physically, who don't all operate the same mentally, and have different perspectives on solving problems. There's attention in the United States to getting more people with autism involved in cybersecurity, because there's a different way of thinking about problems that people who are on the autism spectrum tend to think about problems in novel ways. So it's very important that we address diversity in many different aspects in order to get successful results in cybersecurity. And that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about working in that area.
Have there been a lot of interest on this field by after you opened or founded the program?
I wish I could say I've solved the problem. I mean, I've been in cybersecurity for 35 years, and I haven't solved all of the cybersecurity problem. I've run this scholarship program for about 12 years, and I haven't solved that problem. Things are getting better. It's, of course, not just me. One of my friends founded a group called Women in Cybersecurity, WICYS.org, which is now an international program to get more girls in high school and women involved in cybersecurity. I was honored to be one of the speakers at their most recent event. There were 2,000 men and about 2,000 women and about 10 men at their conference. And it was just the best feeling to watch all these excited women being very dedicated to solving cybersecurity problems. We need to do that everywhere, not just in the United States.
Yeah. No, I think I read somewhere that women are actually, I don't know if it's in the U.S., but I feel like in Indonesia, women are more susceptible to cyber crimes. Simply like what we call it gender-based cybercrime or kekerasan. I can't remember in Indonesian, kekerasan berbasis gender online. Yeah, where when people can just take your image, and especially in social media, everybody's just putting their faces and all photos on social media, and with AI, with generative AI, it can easily be used for, if somebody wants to do something bad to you, they just kind of like post your pictures and doing things, and I guess a lot of women are more susceptible to those kind of problem. And I think that maybe by involving a lot of women, more women in cybersecurity, we can address those issues. Mr. Andrian, what do you think about women in Indonesia itself, with women in STEM, especially in cybersecurity? Are there what can we do to make it to increase the number of women getting involved, or even just the interest to get?
So the first thing you say that there's not a lot of jobs in cybersecurity. Well, I'm looking for 20 engineers on cybersecurity, but I can't find anybody. That's the difficulty. The difficulties now. Cybersecurity is one of the hottest topic in the IT world, especially here, there's news about a bank get hacked. So actually, yes, everybody is looking into cybersecurity. I was talking to a government official handling handling the data center for one of the minister. They got not too much attack. They got 1.2 million attack a day.
Wow. A day.
A day. So they got
Wow.
1.2 million attack a day. So, and it was done by what? It was done by AI, right? There's not 1.2 million person trying to attack one, but it was done by AI. But I think, and IBM being a very we are the champion of gender inclusivity in the U.S. and everywhere, and that is that is our that is our forte, that is our motto in doing so. And but I have to say that if I have to fulfill my quota related to the I will have fulfill my quota related to the how many women that I have to hire and how many male I just can't find the persons in the
There's
field.
just not enough
So yeah,
people,
the
right?
supply side is very less. So I think we have to address the supply side of it, the interest side of it, the social interest side of it. Then when the talent is there, then it will be, because us tech companies, we usually don't look at we don't look at gender and stuff. We are looking at skills, right? We are looking at skills, and then that's where I think the supply side. That's why I was excited to hear about this scholarship program, because that will solve our problem in the supply side.
Yeah.
Right now, especially in Indonesia, especially in Southeast Asia, our score has been quite poor because the supply side has been very less in term of the IT skills in general, especially cybersecurity. In my short career of 20 years in IBM, I have met exactly three women cybersecurity experts in Indonesia, Indonesians, yeah, Indonesian. I've met three, so that is an issue. I think that is an issue, and I agree. To to solve or to alleviate the issues regarding the harmful effects on women on the cybersecurity sides, we need more women engineers looking into this problem and
Yes.
can give their perspective about how to alleviate these issues.
I'd like to give one example, and I know we're running low on time, but I just want to give one example that I think is really important. And this was with Amazon. And this was a number of years ago, and the problem no longer exists, but I want to give the example anyway. They were trying to hire more engineers and scientists faster. And they were getting way more resumes than they had time to look at one by one. So they used a machine learning model, a large language model, to build a model of what their existing employees' skill sets looked like by putting all of the resumes into this LLM system. And then they gave resumes of people that they did not hire so that the LLM could learn to distinguish people you want to hire and people you don't want to hire. And then they gave it resumes of real people who applied for jobs. Well, what was really interesting is Amazon at that point was overwhelmingly white and male. And so when it looked for resumes, it was never told look for white men, but it picked white men because that's what the training data had been. It had picked exactly what it was told to do. So it wasn't that anyone was being malicious. It's not that anyone was saying, no, we don't want to hire women. No, we don't want to hire people of color. It said, let me find more people like what I have. As soon as they realized it, they said, no, we're not doing this anymore. And they started going back and they re-looked at it. But this is why it's important to have people with many backgrounds and to recognize that the AI systems can be our friends, but they can also be our enemies.
Yeah. That's really interesting. That the importance of having different views, people with different characteristics and different way of thinking to be part of this of any technological advancement, I think it's really important to include everyone. So I guess we don't have a lot of time left, but I'd like to probably ask for a little bit of closing statements, especially regarding of what we as netizens, internet citizens, can do in order to keep our information safe online. So you can start first.
Okay.
Yes.
So first things first, right? Related, there's two things, right? Related cybersecurity and AI. On AI side, don't trust everything you put into AI system, right? Jeremy has just said that because the AI is trained on a predominantly male white person, it will give you a male white person answer. That is called AI bias. AI will be trained by somebody that has some view that will give you that will use some sort of data that will have a bias. That is unavoidable. I think that is unavoidable. So it is very important for you to see when you use an AI system, right? When you use an AI system, when they give you an answer, use your discernment. Use your discernment. Do some cross references, right? Do some cross references, and then don't just trust the AI bluntly, because AI can have hallucination, AI can have bias, AI can be wrong, right? AI can be wrong. And related to security, we do cybersecurity programs, cybersecurity projects a lot. The number one cause of cybersecurity incident: people. One very famous startup on ride-hailing, already went IPO, very how you say, very sophisticated IT system, got hacked. Why? Because the admin was duped into believing that this somebody is requesting for a password. So the number one cause of cybersecurity incident: people, right? So the buck stops with you guys. If you don't want to get your data stolen, be very careful with it, right? Be very careful with it. Be mindful on what you are on what you're using, on what consent you are giving. The rules now is quite good. Is good enough that good enough that it has given you some control. It has given you some control. But I just can't believe that a lot of us just give that control away because you don't want to read, or you say, oh, too long. Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, that's going to be. I think start by just being mindful, by being mindful one day at a time, being more mindful, being more aware, educate yourself about this danger. Then I think it will go a long way, rather than hoping that everybody will follow this PDP program up to the dot. No, I don't think it's going to be very difficult to follow. Just be very careful by yourself.
All right.
So I've described myself for many years as professionally paranoid. So the paranoid meaning scared of everything, but I do it because I'm professionally knowledgeable. And sometimes it's hard for me to decide, am I being too careful or not careful enough? And there was one time when I got lost hiking up on a mountain, and I didn't have a map in a paper map, and I didn't have a map in my phone, and I had very little network connectivity. And I had to decide which app was I going to install to help me get safely off the mountain. It was, the temperature was about 5 degrees, and it was dropping. And there was a threat of snow. And so I had to decide, how much time did I want to spend worrying about the privacy policies of the apps that were going to get me safely off the mountain, and how much time did I want to spend getting safely off the mountain? So it's important to balance it and not to be too paranoid,
Yes.
but to be paranoid enough. So I try to think about, is this something that I really need to worry about, or is this something that I really wish they weren't collecting that information about me, but it's not that evil.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess it really depends on urgency and needs, and then how knowledgeable you are in
Right.
terms of what kind of information they're getting.
Yeah, some researchers call it context, privacy context.
Privacy. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to buy something online, not giving your address will be quite a bit stupid. Yeah.
Yes, that's true. It'll go elsewhere. Okay. So thank you so much. So I guess we're running out of time for the discussion. So I'm going to read questions from the audience. There's a couple of questions that already came in, and if you still have questions, please go to the At America social media and type in your questions. So I will ask, so I can pass it to our speakers. So one of the questions that came in from Instagram is from Mirna, and the question is, what can we expect in terms of future developments and innovations in the field of cybersecurity, and how can AI be harnessed to stay ahead of the threats?
So in my day job, I run a cybersecurity research program. And as I said at the beginning, I have just over 1,000 research projects going on that I oversee. Roughly a third of them are using AI for one purpose or another. So I think there's a lot of great opportunities for AI to make cybersecurity better, as well as for making it worse. In terms of what specifically can we all do, I encourage you to study, to earn degrees, to consider going to graduate school, to consider becoming professors and researchers, because a lot of these problems require a lot of really smart people like many of you in this room who have that potential for going off and doing research and solving these problems. I'm too old. I'm not going to solve the problems, but you're going to solve the problems, and I encourage you to think about that.
All right. What do you think, Ms. Andrian, about the future of AI and cybersecurity?
The only way that government agency handle 1.2 million attack per day is through AI, right? So that's the only way they can handle that. And so yeah, AI, again, like Jeremy says, it can be helpful. It can be harmful. But I think us in IBM is we are looking at getting AI to work to help us to make this a better world, right? To make this a better world. So yeah, though I think in the advanced world of cybersecurity, where you have to deal with hackings, where you have to deal with DDoS attacks, where we have to deal with it, AI is the way to go, because AI just faster than average person. Once you identify the pattern, once you train the AI on how to do it, then it can block, and it can detect, and it can handle the attacks just more thoroughly.
I see. So there's as AI, like you said, AI can be used for good and for evil. So with AI being used to create more dangerous threats, we can also use it to counterattack or to protect us better. And I think it's really also important to know that, like you said, is cybersecurity is not just a tech problem, but it's a socio-tech problem. So people with different backgrounds, with maybe like psychology or sociology, education can also jump into the field in order to help us create a safer cyberspace, right? Okay, so I think, let's see if there's any more questions we can answer. So what are the key challenges? Oh, here, this is also from Instagram by Nabila. What are the key challenges in the intersection of AI and cybersecurity that we have discussed before, I guess.
There are many areas where we can use AI to make things better and make things worse. So let me give you a few examples. One of the really hard things to do from a technical perspective today is you have a pile of software, source code, let's say, for example, and we're trying to find the security vulnerabilities. And it's really hard to find security vulnerabilities by reading page after page of software. I can tell you that because I've done it. It's time consuming and it's error prone, and we know that even when you have experts do it, it doesn't catch all of them. It's something that we can train AI systems to do much more efficiently, and so we can find those vulnerabilities before they get out there, before the bugs become things that attackers use to compromise our security and things and our privacy. So we have new tools to help us safeguard our software that we didn't have just a few years ago. And I find that really exciting and positive.
Yeah.
I have a tendency, security people tend to be a pretty downcast lot because we know that there's always a new attack,
Yes.
there's always something bad happening, and now but I try every so often to remind myself that some things do get better. AI can help us do a better job. As you were saying, AI can do a better job finding the attacks.
Yeah.
It can also find the vulnerabilities in the software. It can help programmers develop more safe code through automated systems that prevent the mistakes from occurring in the first place. None of these are foolproof. They all require a lot of work. They all require a lot of research, a lot of product development, but we can get better by continuing to try.
Okay. So in conclusion, it's very, cybersecurity right now is evolving. With AI, there's more threats. There's, but then with more evolved threats, there's also more evolved solutions, and it's a very exciting field to get into. And like I said here, there's opportunities for everyone to learn. First, learn how to protect ourselves by protecting our by being responsible with our own information online, and as well as learning a lot more, because I guess the information is all out there. Take courses, online courses, or get master's degree and do research, right? And then there's a lot of career opportunities, like Mr. Andrian said, so for us to get into. So I think that's all for tonight. I think we're running out of time. Let's wait it. And the speakers mentioned that AI can be, okay, there's one more question I guess I need to ask. Can AI replace human job?
That's AI will certainly replace some human jobs, and it'll create new ones.
Yes.
I don't worry about the people who say, today's young generation isn't going to have a job because AI is going to do everything. I don't believe that for a minute.
You don't believe it? Okay. What do we think?
From our side, we have a research that says that humans with AI will replace humans without AI.
Yes.
Because AI will just make you work more efficiently, you work better than those that has not have AI. But I also don't believe that AI will replace human jobs. So look, there's going to be jobs that can be replaced by AI, but there's going to be jobs created because of AI.
Yes.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah. And I think with in cybersecurity, there's a lot more getting
Definitely.
more specialization with AI. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Andrian. Thank you, Jeremy, for sharing with us everything, the information that you have shared. And I hope everybody here have learned something tonight. And I guess that's all from us. We'll return to Patricia.
Thank you to podcasters and all speakers for today. The last, we want you to collaborate with us by visit our website www.atamerica.or.id. You can click collaborate with us and submit your greatest idea. Also, to keep updated for our next amazing events here in At America, you can follow our social media. We have on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, AT America. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Patricia Elizabeth, and see you at the next At America events. Bye-bye.